So today we're going to do a Q&A. Now, our goal is to be able to do this live with a live audience someday where you guys can call in, ask questions, and because we want to actually just be here for you. Our goal is to, scratch where you itch. So we're talking about things that are real to you, real in your life, matter to you, because life isn't easy. I mean, life is hard. And we're faced with a million hard decisions every day, right? Like going to work is hard, but being unemployed is even harder. Having a great marriage is hard. It's a lot of work, but having a painful, horrible marriage that doesn't work is even harder. So every day we're all doing hard things, but if we can do it together, life is so much better. We're meant to do it together.
I imagine at one time you were this brilliant little child. As we enter into adulthood, what was brilliant in childhood can actually get in the way of you living the life you want to live. Hello, friends. I'm Nancy Houston. I want to help you live a better life. We're all emotional creatures who sometimes think. And so it's so important that we make this journey from our heads into the depths of our hearts. Welcome to the In-Between with Nancy Houston.
Awesome. Okay. Well, so we have a couple questions that come in through. If you would just DM your questions on Instagram, on YouTube, we would greatly appreciate it. I really wish I had the person's voice with this question that we're about to ask, because it just sounds like they're in a really hard spot. We've all been in really hard spots. So the question is my spouse triggers me so badly, I'm thinking of leaving, but I don't want to rip my family apart, and I do love them. I feel caught. What do I do?
Yeah, you're right, Jonathan. You can feel the pain of that because it is painful to be triggered. Now, I think we've got to know the difference between, somebody saying something annoying to you or something you don't like. And it's like, ouch, that hurt. Or, hey, that doesn't feel right to me. Or, just responding to that. But when we are triggered, it is like a charge goes through our body. It hits our automatic nervous system. As a matter of fact, Jonathan, I got triggered on Saturday. Something your dad said to me, because you know what? Nobody can trigger you like the people you love. And it's not that they're out to get you. It's just, there's more at risk. This is a person I love. So when they trigger you, man, it's like it blows up inside of you. I could feel it right here. And because it took me a couple days to fully recover, I knew that I was triggered. I started to immediately shut down, which is probably my first response, is that freeze or that full just shutting down. And then usually after a little while, my second response is flight. I just need to get away from you. You're no longer safe. You're dangerous. That's just what our automatic nervous system does. Some of you are going to go into fight. We've got to remember that fight, flight, freeze, fold, or even fawn are automatic nervous system responses that are telling us we've been triggered in some way. So a trigger is an opportunity for us to pay attention and not to project like you are the one who triggers me. So I need to get away from you. What needs to happen is that we pause and go, hey, what's going on inside of me? What about this reminds me of some unresolved pain from my childhood? And so then we can start connecting like, oh, well, this reminds me of the time my dad just mowed over me He's a very powerful person. He has very strong opinions, just mowed over me. And I learned how to shut down and be quiet and try to move away from him. And so it really wasn't at all about my husband. It was more about what is going on inside of me. So when you're triggered, the first step is to recognize, like, oh, this is like an electrical charge going through my system, and locate where it is on your body so you can identify, I have been triggered. And then the second step is like, and this other person most likely is not the fire-breathing dragon I think they are. It's probably connected to some unresolved pain, trauma, difficulty from childhood. So just to pause, acknowledge that, and then to realize that, hey, it's okay. We all get triggered, and nobody's going to trigger you more than the people you love, because the stakes are higher. Like if somebody at the grocery store says something rude to me, I can just like, whatever, blow it off, or like, hey, you need to back away, But when it's your own spouse, it can feel like a personal attack. But that's oftentimes not what they meant it to be. Like with my husband on Saturday, he just got excited about something. And then his enthusiasm kind of feels like, whoa, that's a lot. When really he's just for me. So I have to slow myself down and realize that this is something from my past talking to me. So, if we look at it like, this isn't horrible, even though it can feel bad. This is actually a gift. It can be an opportunity for me to look a little more deeply inside of myself, to let the subconscious become conscious. Because like Jung said, if we don't make the subconscious conscious, then our subconscious will rule our lives, and we will call it fate. So we can do all kinds of things like, oh, our relationship just doesn't work. We just aren't able to work through this. Instead of like, no, I just need to make this unconscious part of me conscious. And then I need to find ways to deal with it. So, things like calming our system down, deep breathing, journaling. Maybe if it's something you haven't had any progress on resolving, you call a friend, talk it through. You go see your counselor, talk it through. Maybe you consider doing some brain spotting, which is a relatively newer way to help reprocess trauma. There's other ways to do that, but I think the thing is, at least for me, I start getting curious about, what do I need to be able to move past this in my life? What work do I need to do? What effort do I need to put in so this can get better? Because sometimes we just start circling the same, we start circling our own wagons over and over and over. And a lot of people will separate from their spouse. They'll get a divorce, they'll get remarried, and they're like, wait a minute. I'm still having the same problem. So maybe the problem resides in here, and I don't even know if the problem is the right word. Maybe it's just, this is something in me that's unresolved. That does not make you a bad person. That does not mean you have a moral problem. Sometimes we can see trauma as a moral problem. It's not. It's just things happen to you in your life. Oftentimes we've been sinned upon in some pretty dramatic ways, and we just need help recovering from it. So if you're the person who sent us this question, first of all, man, I have a lot of empathy for you, because getting triggered feels painful. And just to recognize, like, ouch, that hurts. And then I think the second thing is, and you're not necessarily the enemy. This is something that resides inside of me. And then I say, and you deserve healing from whatever is triggering you. You deserve healing. And I want that for you. And so as best you can, bring that into community and into relationship with others who can just be empathic, they can listen, they can care, and then get curious about, what do I need for this to be healed inside of me? Because I believe that you deserve healing. So thank you for your question. It was a great question, and I think one that probably we can all identify with in some form or fashion. So thank you for your question.
That's good. Little different question here, going in a different direction. Again, I just wish they could ask this live because, again, just it's a hard question. So I can't get out of bed on some days. My spouse died a few years ago, and I am not sure I can go on. Help.
Oh, boy, I can feel the pain and the loss in that. I've worked with a lot of people who've had, lost their spouse, somebody they loved. And that is a painful process. So my heart goes out to you, because here's the thing about a great marriage is, you've taken this person in, you've integrated their love into your life. And so when they die, you feel the loss of that. You feel their absence. And maybe you feel some of the unresolved issues that you had with this person that at times you loved, and maybe at times they were really difficult. Maybe you were in one of these really fortunate marriages where there was far more love than difficulty. And so you are feeling the loss of this companion, this friend, this lover on a daily basis. And if that's you, I would say, hey, you're not going to be able to recover alone. You need people around you. You need somebody who can be empathic and warm and say, yeah, your pain is real. Your loss is real. You still got this person's love inside of your heart. You integrated them in. They're inside of you. You had secure attachment with that person, and that can never be taken from you. And if this person were sitting here with us in this room, what would that person want for you? And the answer I get to that question is, well, my wife would want me to keep going. She'd want me to keep moving forward. She would want me to go live the best life I could possibly live. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Well, then let's start putting together a plan for you to live the very best life you can live. Like, what would help you to have something to look forward to? What would get you out of bed in the morning? What would get you excited again? And then just start noticing, like, wow, that lit you up. Pay attention to what lights you up. Maybe you start volunteering at a homeless shelter and that lights you up. Maybe you start teaching music lessons again and that lights you up. Maybe you're experimenting with a new business adventure and that lights you up. Get people around you who notice what gets you excited again. And then, after a certain amount of time, what if you started seeking some healthy companionship? Somebody to go have coffee with, somebody to go dancing with, go see a movie, go, I don't know, whatever you like, go play pickleball together. What if it's time for you to start moving forward and thinking about, where can I find some new friends, some new companion? Who's got your phone number? Are you all hidden away and nobody's got your phone number? Maybe it's time to start getting out there again and start kind of pushing yourself in ways. So typically what I do when I'm helping clients work through a big loss, we spend time grieving, acknowledging the big loss, the beauty, the good, the bad, the ugly of that relationship, the complexities of that relationship. We spend time grieving. My friends, the reason you feel so heavy and can't get out of bed is we call that unprocessed grief. And grief deserves a platform. Grief is not an enemy. It feels painful, but grief is meant to lead you through what feels like the shadow of the valley of death, which is what you've been in. You've been through a really painful, excruciating experience, and you're just stuck in the valley of the shadow of death. And like, that doesn't make you bad. That's not wrong. It just is what it is. And you're meant to come out of it. You're not meant to just be stuck there forever and always. No, you cannot allow yourself to be stuck there forever. And so we do our grief work. I'm like, tell me about how this loss feels for you. Oh, it's excruciating. It's gut-wrenching. It's zapped all my energy. It's heavy. It's dark. It's lonely. And then I'm like, yes, 100%. Absolutely. And so we spend however many weeks we need grieving. And then the person will come out of it, and then we go back into it. I mean, it's not like one and done. Grief is a process. And grief has different elements to it. Sometimes a client will come in and say, I'm so mad at him for leaving me. Yes, you are. I'm so upset that I've had to go through all of her things. Yeah, that's hard to do. Like, how dare he not take better care of his health so he's still here for me? Yes, absolutely. So we just process all these emotions, the anger, the sadness, the bargaining, the unbelief, and we just keep processing. Your emotions are a gift, my friend. And they deserve a voice. So just staying in bed and ignoring your emotions, I get it. And I'd say that's normal for a while. And then it's time to get up and do the hard work of grieving and put some people around you to help you do that. You know, join a grief group, join a divorce recovery group, my spouse just died group. Like, put all the support around you that you can possibly get. Get over the idea that you're going to do this alone. You cannot do this alone. You are meant to grieve in community. So put some people around you that can help you do that. So, Jonathan, any thoughts around that, or anything I'm missing or leaving out? Or
Golly, yeah, that's a tough one.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, I think just dealing with your grief is a big piece of it.
Yeah.
And then at some point, got to just get moving.
Yeah. And hey, I'm sure all of you know somebody who's had a recent loss. And the first 2-3 years they're just hard. And so I'd like all of us today to think of somebody who we know has had a loss. And maybe we can be that friend who, like, we say, hey, what's your hardest time of day? And they say, I don't know, it's super weird. It's around dinner time. And we start being that friend that calls them before dinner. Or says, hey, let's go out to dinner once a week for a while together. Or maybe it's 7 a.m. in the morning, so you call them at 7 a.m. every morning. Like, let's insert ourselves in some loving, empathic, compassionate ways to the people around us who we know have had some recent losses. Let's just be there for them.
That's good. Should we go to the next one?
We can. Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this question, changing gears here, I'll just read it. I'm stuck in a very negative pattern, and I keep telling myself I am a huge failure. Is there a way out of this?
Well, I'm just going to be blunt. There's a passage in Proverbs that says, as a man thinks, so shall he be. If you are stuck in a rut of telling yourself, I'm a huge failure, I'm such a failure, I failed everybody, I'm just a miserable excuse for a human, I'm never going to succeed, I have some really bad news for you. That's what you're speaking into your future. That's what you're speaking into your destiny. And that is not helpful. And you, my friend, deserve so much better than that. Man, we can all do this. I have times where I do it too, and I just have to stop myself. I'm like, stop. Is this inner dialogue going to help you get to where you're going, where you want to go in life? And I'm like, no. Is it just bringing you down? Yes. Is it making you feel more helpless and hopeless? 100%. So, this saying is so true. Whatever we feed grows. So if I am feeding like steaks, throwing a big old steak to like this lion inside of me, that is what I call the critical judge, what we typically call the critical judge. If we're just feeding that thing, then it's just going to grow and grow and grow and grow until it is this huge monster inside of us. And we all have some monsters inside of us. But we've got to develop this mental toughness where we start recognizing that negativity and we turn and we face it. And we say, that's enough. That's enough. If you can't say anything decent to me, then don't say anything at all. And where we start confronting that judge that just wants nothing good for you. The problem is people can believe that that judge is for you. And I'm here to tell you that judge is not for you. That judge is not on your side. That judge wants to point out all the millions of ways you are failing every day. It is not your friend. It is a foe. The good news is, no, maybe it's time for some good news. The good news is you were created to do hard things. We knew there were going to be battles in this life, and you were made to fight some battles. And so this is where we armor up and we're like, no more. You are not going to keep stabbing me in the back and I'm just going to take it. It's like, no, I was made for more. And you were, my friend, you were made for more. You are not a failure. You may have failed some people. You may have failed yourself, most likely. That does not make you a failure. Right? We all say and do stupid things. We all have moments of failure. My word, we all do. We're human. We're flawed. But if we think about, wait, this is just a muscle for me to develop. So I'm going to have to develop some mental toughness where instead of feeding that judge inside of me that tells me what a failure I am, I need to go, wait, stop. I am going to develop some resiliency and some grit, and I'm going to turn around, I'm going to face that monster and say, no, you don't. You're not my friend. So, I don't know, is that helpful? Anything you want to add to that, Jonathan?
I think it's very helpful.
I mean, we've all struggled with this, right?
Yeah, and the thing that maybe they could be talking about is they're stuck in some sin.
That's true. Yeah.
Like there's just some things that they can't deal with.
Yeah. Well, or they aren't. Like maybe they feel helpless to it. Like I'm stuck in this. And so maybe you're just failing yourself every day. And I would say, if you're stuck in a rut of failing yourself every day, you know what you deserve? You deserve to be developed. Like put yourself in an atmosphere where you will be developed in some very concrete, strategic ways. Develop you, like enough of saying, I can't change this. I can't get out of this. You can if you'll focus on a developmental process. For example, let's say you're stuck in a habit of watching porn. And you're sick of it. You're tired of it. It's not getting you anywhere. It's depressing. You feel ashamed about yourself. You don't feel good about you. So you're letting yourself down. You're failing you. more than failing anybody else. You're failing yourself. And you deserve better. So what if you joined, let's say, a men's group or a women's group where we start dealing with sexual integrity? What do I need to do to feel good about me? Well, I want to have sexual integrity. Well, it's like, yeah, that's a great, worthy goal. That's an exciting goal. That's something you can get excited about. Because you know what? You are as capable of developing sexual integrity as the next person. It's just another hard choice. Do I want to keep watching porn every day and feel so crappy about myself? That's hard. Or do I want to get in a group where we're going to focus on developing sexual integrity? That's hard work too, which is the lesser of two hards. This one is going to take you where you want to go, to a really good life. This one just goes further and further and further down a dark hole. Hey, I know I've said this before, but you deserve better than that. You were not made to live in a dark, shameful pit. That's not what you were made for. You were made for life. You were made for love. You were made for something so good. And so decide today, I'm gonna develop myself. And here's something I've experienced over and over and over in my life. Once I get sick and tired of being sick and tired and decide I want change, then I love this saying, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. So when you're ready, I believe with all my heart, help will appear if you'll just get to the place where you're ready for it.
That's good. I got the picture when you were talking about, if you bring your sin to the light.
Yeah.
Right. And then I got an image of a team sport, right? Which is a group, right? How good is it to be a part of a group?
Yeah.
And bring your darkness into community.
Yeah. It's kind of like me throwing that axe. I'm like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing with an axe in my hand. I could be a dangerous person with this axe because I don't know what I'm doing, right? But with a coach, he could help me hit my target. And that's the same for all of us. Like, put yourself around some good people who are like, yeah, I've been there, done that, can help you with that. They aren't going to beat you up for it. They're going to tell you what a failure that you are, but they're going to say, and you can do better. Let's do better, man.
That's good. Okay, I've got another one. Staying on the similar path here. How do I make love to my spouse whom I cannot stand?
I feel that one right here. And there's a lot to that question. And there's a lot of directions to go with that question. So I think, and like you said earlier, Jonathan, like, man, we wish this person were here with us. Because I would want to get real curious. Like, first of all, what's your marriage like? Is sex just a kind of like a symbol of, or the lack of sex, a symbol of what's going on relationally, which would be my guess. So what's going on relationally? Do you feel safe in this relationship? I think there's some questions to ask. Do you feel safe in this relationship? Does this person care about connecting with you as a human being? Or is it more about control or just getting what they want from you? Do they care about your feelings and your needs? Can you have hard conversations where you feel listened to and there's empathy and understanding, or you dismiss pretty regularly? Are you both conflict avoidant? Or maybe there's been just so many misses in this marriage that now you're at a place where it's like, ugh, yuck, ick, don't touch me. So, there's a lot there to be explored to be curious about. You know, is it all about what's going on in this relationship? Or did you both bring in some baggage? Is there any sexual trauma from childhood? Did you come from a home where sex was talked about in really demeaning, disgusting ways? You know, and just to start, hey, let's unpack your history. I think we all deserve some unpacking of our history and figuring out, here's where I am today. Ooh, don't touch me. Well, what are the elements, the ingredients that led to this place? And so I would suggest a lot of self-compassion, a lot of curiosity, a lot of what needs to happen here. Is this an outcome of a relationship that is not working? Do we need to back up and first, let's get some marital and relational help and see if this relationship can be salvaged, and then we can get some sexual help? Or is this is there a resistance inside of me to sharing my body, to being sexual with another human being? Is there something that needs to be worked through? Is that a trigger for me? I've worked with couples where the way the husband would initiate is he would touch his wife on her shoulder, and then she'd just freeze, because that is what happened to her as a teenager when she's sexually abused by an older man. He would start this abusive, taking advantage of this young girl by touching her on the shoulder. And so the reason she did not want her husband touching her is because the way he was initiating. So once we talked that through, they had a good marriage. She loved him. It's just neither one of them were aware that his initiation was such a huge trigger for her. And so once we brought what was unconscious into the conscious and worked through that, and hey, how can you initiate very differently? Shoulders are off limits. Then, it took him a little while because he'd just kind of automatically reach for her in that way. But once we gave that some time and we worked through that, and he learned how to initiate very differently with her. He learned how to do it verbally, hey, I'd love to be physically close to you, or I'd love to make love to you. Would you be open to that? And she had an opportunity to use her voice, because the thing is, with people who've been sexually traumatized, they lost their voice. They didn't get a vote in what happened to them. It was done to them. So part of our work was her getting her voice back and finding her, no, I don't want to do that, or yes, I do, or maybe, kiss me and I'll see if there's potential for that to go somewhere, or let's sit and have a conversation and we'll see if that can go somewhere. So she had to reclaim her voice, which is so common for any sexual abuse survivors. Is hey, let's work on getting your voice back. Let's work on you finding your no so you can have a yes. Let's work, all of us together, on finding out what works, what doesn't work for you. And there's no good or bad, right or wrong. You're an individual human being, and your sexuality needs to be treated like that. So I hope that's helpful. Any other thoughts that you have around that, Jonathan?
That's good.
Okay.
No, I'm going to go to another question here about finances.
Okay.
I know we're not financial advisors.
We're not Dave Ramsey.
Yes, please listen to Dave.
Yeah, yes. We highly recommend Dave Ramsey.
I think this one's more around boundaries.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't say no to my spouse and kids financially.
Yeah.
How do I do that?
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard. Here's the tricky thing about boundaries. We can be adults and it's okay, I know what my budget should be. And I know how to keep us financially viable. However, I cannot say no to the people I love. Well, like you said, Jonathan, that is a boundary issue, right? And so you're violating your own boundaries. And then you're finding yourself in debt and in a dark hole and probably too many credit cards. And then you can feel more and more like a failure. Where really you're feeling yourself, my friend. And the thing is, we learn boundaries at 2 years old. So maybe you were raised, I'd be curious, like, tell me about boundaries growing up. Was your no heard? Did you see your parents have boundaries? Would they have limits with you? Did they say, when you're at the grocery store and, they've got all the candy lined up and you'd say, Mommy, I want this, this, and this. And she'd say, yes, darling, have whatever you want. It's like you weren't being taught boundaries. Or maybe you're ashamed, like, we have no money. Don't ask for that. And so you're so ashamed. Like, what do you think? Money grows on trees? And so you've got this harsh response around, you wanted a Tootsie Roll. There's no sin in that. It's just boundaries got so complex because they've got all these emotions wrapped around them. And so now, instead of saying, hey, kids, yeah, I'd love to buy that for you. And right now it's not in the budget. Hey, spouse, man, I'd love to go on that vacation with you. You bet. That would be a blast. How can we work together to have some budget in the vacation fund? Where you're not the bad guy. The budget's the bad guy, not you. But there's something inside of you. Maybe you're afraid of losing love if you don't give everybody what they want. Maybe you're terrified of abandonment if you don't say yes to the people you love. So I would say that this is a deeper issue than money. Not that, again, I'd highly recommend, yes, go put some solid structures to your finances with Dave Ramsey. And I'd also encourage you, look at the emotional side of this and go back into childhood and look at, how was I taught boundaries? Did I have the opportunity to develop my own boundaries? And did I grow up thinking that the only way to be loved is for me to achieve and provide and say yes? So do that internal work, and I think that will make a big difference for you.
That's good. I think that's all the questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
We did it.
We did it.
Okay.
We did it, but we want to do more.
Yeah.
So
we do. How do people ask questions? And, we'd love to do this live one day. So yeah, that's our goal. We're working on it. We're just slowly working away on this. So thank you for your patience with us. So Jonathan, any ideas on how people can maybe send us a question? Yes, send us a direct message, a DM, YouTube, Instagram, on all of our platforms. Yeah. And we will hopefully have a call-in number live here soon. You can call in, but we just want to be there to help. That'd be great. We really do. That sounds great. I loved it. One of my favorite quotes from John F. Kennedy was, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. And, life switches for all of us when we develop an attitude of, first of all, just being grateful in life. As a matter of fact, my husband ran into a dear friend of ours the other day. A couple of years ago, he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And now he's a picture of health. And it was kind of freakish how he discovered he had cancer. He actually went in because he was having really bad headaches. And then he found out he had a broken neck. And then he found out he had cancer. So instead of oh my God, I'm sure he spent moments grieving and trying to take that in. But once he took it in, he decided, I'm going to be grateful I had headaches. And then I'm going to be grateful that I had this broken neck. And then I'm going to be grateful that because of the headaches, they found my broken neck. And then because of the broken neck, they found the cancer. And he said to my husband, man, just focusing on gratitude. Well, I think that's why I'm here today. And I'm like, wow, you are my hero. So my friend, if by any chance you hear this, I want you to know you are my hero. So it's this attitude of being grateful and not looking, what can this world do for me? But there's so much satisfaction in giving to others. Give and it shall be given to you, right? So as we end today, I just want to encourage all of us, make a difference today. Spread some love. Smile at somebody at the grocery store, at the gym, at your office. Give somebody a compliment. Just be kind to people. Let's warm this world back up. I think we've gotten kind of separated from each other. And the truth is, we all need each other. When you smile at me at the grocery store, it makes my brain happy. I was at the gym yesterday and I'm just going to smile and say hi to the ladies in the locker room, and their faces lit up and so did mine. So today, go out and ask, how can I make this world a better place instead of waiting for the world to make this a better place for me to be in? Because you can be that agent of change that you want to see. Hey, would you do us a favor? If you like this podcast, would you like it, subscribe, share it with your friends? That would mean so much to us. We love you. We are for you, and we want to be with you. Thanks for joining us today.